There is a tension you have been carrying, a pressure you have been living under, a silent weight in your chest that no one sees but God. You have been trying to make things happen, trying to force doors open, trying to hold people together with your own strength, trying to plan every outcome so nothing collapses. And God interrupts your anxious striving with a divine command that sounds almost too simple to believe, yet carries overwhelming power. Relax. Not because nothing matters, not because life is careless, but because God is already ahead of you. The right people are already being aligned. The right opportunities are already moving toward your life. What you are worried about today is already under divine supervision. You must understand this truth deeply. God never rushes, yet God is never late. The human heart panics when it cannot see progress, but God works in realms your eyes cannot access. While you are counting days, God is arranging destinies. While you are wondering who will stand with you, God is filtering who cannot go where you are going. While you are questioning your worth, God is preparing environments that will recognize the value you carry. The instruction to relax is not permission to become passive. It is an invitation to trust at a higher level. Anxiety is a signal that you are trying to manage what only God can orchestrate. Many of you are exhausted not because you have done too much, but because you have trusted too little. You believe in God with your words, but your nervous system still behaves as if everything depends on you. God says relax because worry does not accelerate provision and fear does not speed up favor. Pressure does not produce promise, faith does. The more you tighten your grip, the more tension you create within your soul. But when you release control into God's hands, something supernatural happens inside you. Peace becomes your strength. Stillness becomes your strategy. Trust becomes your weapon. You have been interpreting delay as denial, but God calls it preparation. You have been interpreting silence as absence, but God calls it positioning. You have been interpreting closed doors as rejection, but God calls it protection. If you could see what God sees, you would thank Him for every unanswered request, every misconnection, every relationship that drifted away, every opportunity that looked perfect but never materialized. God is not withholding from you. God is refining the path so that when the blessing arrives, it will not destroy you, confuse you, or distract you from your purpose. The right people are coming, but not the people who flatter you while draining you, not the people who celebrate your beginnings but resent your growth, not the people who need you weak so they can feel strong. God is removing those who would misuse access to your heart, your vision, and your destiny. And while removal feels like loss in the moment, it is actually divine mercy. God is making space for alignment, space for mutual respect, space for people who can walk at your pace without competing with your calling. Relax, because when God sends the right people, you will not have to beg for understanding. You will not have to explain your worth. You will not have to shrink your vision to keep them comfortable. Alignment feels different than attachment. Alignment flows, attachment strains. And God never calls you to live strained. God calls you to live surrendered. The people God sends will confirm what God already spoke over your life. Their presence will bring clarity, not confusion. Peace, not pressure. Growth, not guilt. You have also been anxious about opportunities. You feel time slipping. You feel others advancing. You feel left behind. But God does not compete with human timelines. God operates with divine precision. What is meant for you cannot miss you. What misses you was never meant to stay. The opportunity that carries your assignment will recognize you the moment you step into its atmosphere. You do not need to chase it. You need to become ready for it. And readiness is not anxiety-driven hustle. It is faith-rooted preparation. God says, relax because you are trying to outrun the season. A seed planted today does not bear fruit tomorrow, not because it is weak, but because growth is intentional. Underground work takes time. Roots must deepen before branches can rise. If elevation comes before foundation, collapse is inevitable. God loves you too much to promote you prematurely. That delay you resent is actually God securing your future. That waiting season is not wasted time, it is hidden strengthening. When you relax in God, you stop comparing journeys, you stop measuring progress by appearances, you stop letting other people's highlights make you question God's faithfulness. You understand that God custom designs timelines. What takes someone else 2 years may take you 5, not because you are less favored, but because your assignment carries greater weight. Greater weight requires stronger structure. God is building you to last, not just to rise. There are people listening to this who feel lonely, not because they lack social connection, but because God has separated them for alignment. Isolation is not abandonment when God is involved. It is focus, it is purification. It is recalibration. God sometimes removes noise so you can hear direction. God sometimes removes crowds so you can develop character. God sometimes removes familiarity so you can step into transformation. Relax, because this season of quiet is not punishment, it is preparation. You have been praying for God to bring new people, but God has been working on you first. Not to condemn you, but to refine you. Because the people God is sending require a version of you that is healed, whole, and secure. If they arrive too early, old wounds would sabotage new connections. God is protecting future relationships by healing present wounds, and healing requires stillness. It requires honesty. It requires surrender. That is why God says, relax. Some of you are holding on to expired connections because you are afraid of emptiness. But emptiness is not the enemy. It is the canvas God uses to paint new beginnings. If your hands are full of what God has already removed, you cannot receive what God is trying to give. Relax your grip. Release what no longer responds to your growth. Trust that God never subtracts without intention to multiply. Opportunities are also being arranged in ways you cannot predict. God does not always bring opportunity through obvious channels. Sometimes it comes disguised as inconvenience. Sometimes it comes through unexpected conversations. Sometimes it comes after rejection, failure, or embarrassment. If you remain tense, you will miss it. If you remain bitter, you will block it. If you remain fearful, you will avoid it. Relaxation in God sharpens your discernment. Peace clears your vision. Trust opens your awareness. You must understand that faith is not loud panic disguised as prayer. Faith is quiet confidence anchored in God's nature. Faith rests while working. Faith moves without anxiety. Faith obeys without needing guarantees. When God says relax, He is inviting you into a higher form of faith. A faith that does not need constant reassurance. A faith that does not collapse under uncertainty. A faith that knows God is faithful even when outcomes are unclear. You have survived too much to be abandoned now. You have been preserved through storms that should have broken you. You have been carried through valleys where logic said you would not make it. The same God who sustained you then is not suddenly confused about your future. Relax. God's track record with you is flawless. Even your mistakes did not derail His plan. Even your detours were used for instruction. Even your losses were repurposed for wisdom. There is a temptation to believe that rest equals laziness, but spiritual rest is actually strength under control. It is power that does not need to prove itself. When you relax in God, you operate from trust rather than desperation. Desperation attracts compromise. Trust attracts alignment. God is not impressed by frantic effort. God responds to surrendered obedience. Some of you are exhausted because you have been saying yes to what God never assigned. You have been carrying responsibilities that were never yours. You have been trying to rescue people God never asked you to save. Relax, you are not God. You are not required to fix everything. Your assignment is obedience, not omnipotence. When you lay down what God never gave you, you will have energy for what God actually designed for you. The right people will not demand that you abandon your values to be accepted. The right opportunities will not require you to compromise your integrity to succeed. What comes from God aligns with God. It may challenge you, but it will not corrupt you. It may stretch you, but it will not break you. It may humble you, but it will not humiliate you. Relax, because God's blessings do not come with hidden traps. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are in process. And process feels uncomfortable because it stretches identity. It dismantles illusions. It confronts impatience. But every process God allows is purposeful. If you would stop fighting the process and start trusting the guide, peace would replace panic. God knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Not just materially, but relationally, emotionally, spiritually. God knows when your heart will be ready. God knows when your discernment will be sharp enough. God knows when your character will be stable enough. God knows when your confidence will be rooted in Him and not in applause. That is why He says, relax. Timing is not your burden. Alignment is. Some of you have been praying with urgency, but God is responding with instruction. Slow down. Breathe, trust. You are not late. You are not missing out. You are being positioned. When the right people arrive, you will recognize them by the peace they bring, not the excitement they trigger. When the right opportunities appear, they will feel aligned, not forced. They will require courage, not compromise. You must stop interpreting calm as stagnation. Sometimes God stills your environment so you can hear Him more clearly. Sometimes progress is internal before it becomes visible. Sometimes the most powerful movement happens when nothing seems to be happening. Roots grow in silence. Strength forms in stillness. Vision clarifies in rest. Relax, because God is not experimenting with your life. He is intentional. He is deliberate. He is precise. Every season serves a purpose. Every delay carries instruction. Every waiting period builds capacity. The people and all opportunities that are coming require capacity. They require wisdom. They require humility. They require discernment. God is expanding you internally so you can sustain what is coming externally. You have been strong for too long. You have been holding everything together while smiling on the outside and collapsing on the inside. God sees that. And God does not demand performance. He invites trust. You do not need to prove your faith by burning yourself out. Faith is not self-destruction. Faith is alignment with God's rhythm. When you relax in God, your body heals. Your mind clears. Your spirit strengthens. Anxiety weakens your discernment. Peace sharpens it. Fear narrows your perspective. Trust expands it. God wants you whole, not just productive, fulfilled, not just busy. There are conversations that will happen at the right time. Doors that will open at the right moment. Introductions that will shift everything. And they will happen effortlessly when you stop forcing what God has already scheduled. Relax. Divine appointments do not require human manipulation. God is rearranging your environment. He is repositioning people behind the scenes. He is redirecting paths you have not even considered. What feels like inactivity is actually orchestration. What feels like silence is actually strategy. What feels like waiting is actually alignment. You do not need to chase what is assigned to you. Assignment carries recognition. Purpose attracts provision. Vision aligned with God draws resources naturally. When you stop running ahead of God and start walking with Him, exhaustion turns into endurance. Some of you fear that if you relax, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, what depends entirely on you is already unstable. What depends on God is unshakable. Let go of the illusion of control. Embrace the reality of trust. The right people are coming because God came. Also, you cannot fulfill your assignment alone, but He also knows you cannot carry everyone with you. That is why selection is necessary. Pruning is painful, but it produces fruit. Separation hurts, but it creates clarity. Opportunities are coming that will require you to be rested, not rushed. Clear-minded, not clouded by fear. Grounded, not desperate. God is preparing you to recognize them when they appear. Relax, because your future is not fragile. It is guarded, it is guided, it is governed by God. No human decision can cancel what God has decreed. No delay can destroy what God has designed. No rejection can remove what God has reserved. You are safe in God's hands. Safe to rest, safe to trust, safe to wait, safe to release. The pressure you feel is not coming from God. God's voice does not create panic, it creates peace. Let your breathing slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let your heart unclench. You are not running out of time. You are moving into alignment. And alignment always feels quieter than chaos, but it carries far more power. God is saying relax, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening exactly as it should. There is a deeper layer to this command, to relax, that many people overlook. God is not only calming your emotions, He's recalibrating your identity. Anxiety often reveals where you have tied your worth to outcomes instead of obedience. When results become your validation, peace becomes impossible. God is calling you back to a place where your confidence is rooted in who He is, not in what happens next. When you know that God defines you, circumstances lose their power to intimidate you. Relaxation becomes an act of worship, because it declares, God, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. Some of you have been trying to read signs everywhere, analyzing every delay, replaying every conversation, overthink in every silence. But God does not speak through confusion. He speaks through clarity. When your mind is constantly racing, you drown out divine direction. That is why God sometimes allows things to slow down, not to frustrate you, but to quiet the noise. In stillness, discernment sharpens. In rest, revelation deepens. God is not hiding from you. He is waiting for you to become still enough to hear Him clearly. You must also understand that peace is not the absence of challenges. It is the presence of God's authority within you. The storms may still exist, but they no longer control you. When God says relax, He is transferring governance from your fear to His sovereignty. He is teaching you to live from a higher vantage point, where circumstances no longer dictate your emotional state. This is maturity. This is spiritual authority. This is faith that has been tested and refined. There are moments when God deliberately withholds immediate answers because He wants to build endurance in you. Quick answers create relief, but sustained trust builds strength. God is more interested in who you are becoming than in how fast things change. If everything resolved instantly, you would never develop the inner stability required to steward long-term blessing. So God teaches you to relax under pressure, to remain anchored while things are unresolved, to trust even when clarity has not yet arrived. The people God is sending into your life will recognize your peace before they recognize your talent. They will be drawn to your stability, not your anxiety. They will feel safe in your presence because you are no longer emotionally reactive. God is shaping you into a refuge, not a reactor. When you relax, you stop bleeding onto people who did not wound you. You stop projecting old fears onto new relationships. You meet people as they are, not as replacements for past disappointments. You have to release the belief that constant tension equals commitment. God does not require you to be stressed to prove that you care. In fact, stress often indicates misalignment. When you are walking in sync with God, there is a rhythm that sustains you. Effort still exists, but strain disappears. Work remains, but rest surrounds it. Responsibility continues, but it no longer suffocates you. This is the balance God desires for your life. Some of you are afraid that if you relax, people will overtake you. Opportunities will pass you by and you will lose momentum. But what God has designed for you is not competitive, it is covenantal. It does not need to be defended through panic. It is secured through obedience. You cannot miss what God has assigned, but you can exhaust yourself trying to control how it arrives. God is teaching you that trust preserves energy for purpose. God is also addressing your impatience with yourself. You have been harsh, critical, and unforgiving toward your own process. You expect instant growth, instant clarity, instant mastery. But God works progressively. He layers wisdom. He builds understanding. He strengthens discernment over time. Relax. You are learning. You are evolving. You are becoming. Growth does not require self-condemnation. It requires consistency and trust. When you relax in God, you stop negotiating your values under pressure. You no longer make desperate decisions just to escape discomfort. You no longer rush into partnerships just to avoid loneliness. You no longer accept opportunities that look impressive but feel misaligned. Peace becomes your filter. If it costs your peace, it costs too much. God's direction may challenge you, but it will not fracture you internally. There is also a spiritual law at work here. What you chase runs, but what you align with remains. When you stop chasing people, approval, and outcome, and start aligning with God's will, things naturally gravitate toward you. This is not passivity, it is authority. Authority does not pursue, it attracts. God is shifting you from striving to standing, from forcing to flowing, from anxiety to assurance. You have been praying for confirmation, but God has been cultivating conviction. Confirmation depends on external signals. Conviction is anchored internally. When conviction is strong, you do not need constant reassurance. You move with quiet confidence, knowing that God is directing your steps even when the path is not fully visible. Relaxation strengthens conviction because it removes emotional noise. God is also reminding you that your value does not increase with busyness. You are not more important because you are overwhelmed. You are not more faithful because you are exhausted. God delights in your trust, not your burnout. He wants you healthy, whole, and grounded. A rested soul discerns better, loves deeper, and serves longer. The opportunities coming will require wisdom, not urgency. They will require discernment, not impulse. They will require patience, not pressure. God is training you now so you do not sabotage future blessings with present anxiety. What is coming will test your ability to remain calm under expansion. God is preparing you to carry increase without losing peace. You must also learn to relax with unanswered questions. Not everything needs immediate explanation. Mystery is not the enemy of faith. It is the environment where faith matures. When you trust God beyond what you understand, you move from surface level belief into deep reliance. God is not threatened by your questions, but He is not obligated to answer them on your timeline. Some of the strongest transformations happen when you stop fighting reality and start trusting God within it. Resistance drains energy, acceptance redirects. CTS, it. Acceptance does not mean approval of hardship. It means confidence that God is working even here. Relaxing does not mean you stop moving forward. It means you stop fighting God's pace. God is inviting you to live from a place of overflow rather than depletion. Overflow begins with rest. When your inner world is anchored in God's peace, your outer world becomes more manageable. You respond instead of react. You discern instead of assume. You move with intention instead of impulse. The right people and opportunities are not just coming to improve your comfort, they are coming to advance God's purpose through you. That is why preparation is necessary. Purpose without peace leads to collapse. God will not rush what must be sustained. There is another dimension God wants you to grasp. Relaxation is not retreat, it is readiness. When a warrior rests before battle, it is not weakness, it is wisdom. God is teaching you to conserve strength for moments that matter. If you exhaust yourself worrying about what has not yet arrived, you will lack the capacity to steward it when it does. God prepares you by stabilizing you. He strengthens your inner posture so that when expansion comes, you do not collapse under the weight of increase. God is also correcting how you interpret struggle. You have assumed that difficulty means resistance, but sometimes difficulty is confirmation. Pressure refines clarity. Resistance reveals focus. If everything were easy, discernment would remain shallow. God allows you to face uncertainty so your trust becomes deliberate, not accidental. Relaxing in the midst of uncertainty is a declaration that God's authority outweighs your circumstances. It is a refusal to let chaos dictate your inner climate. Some of you are learning that silence from people does not equal silence from God. Humans withdraw. God remains present. Humans change their mind. Yes, God remains faithful. When people step back, God often steps closer, not to replace them, but to recenter you. He does not want your confidence leaning on fragile supports. He wants it anchored in Him. Relax because the foundation God is building in you does not crack under pressure. God is teaching you to recognize divine pace. Divine pace is steady, not frantic. It moves with intention, not impulse. When you are aligned with God's pace, you feel peace even while moving forward. When you are ahead of God, anxiety increases. When you lag behind, frustration grows. Relaxation brings you back into rhythm. Rhythm sustains progress. God's rhythm is designed to carry you long term. You must also release the habit of rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Fear trains the mind to expect loss, but faith trains the mind to anticipate alignment. What you consistently imagine shapes how you respond. God is inviting you to discipline your thoughts, not through force, but through trust. When worry arises, you redirect your focus to God's character, not to deny reality, but to frame it correctly. Reality without God produces fear. Reality with God produces confidence. God is also dismantling your attachment to outcomes that looked right but were not aligned. You grieve possibilities that never materialized, but those were not failures, they were redirections. God closed doors you were emotionally invested in because they would have limited you later. What feels like loss now is actually liberation in disguise. Relax. God removes what restricts your future, even when it comforts your present. The right people coming into your life will not accelerate your insecurity. They will affirm your stability. They will not compete with your calling. They will complement it. They will not demand constant proof of loyalty. Trust will flow naturally. God sends people who align with your son. not those who cling to your past. Relaxing allows you to recognize them without suspicion or fear. God is also healing how you perceive time. You have been counting delays as wasted years. But God measures growth, not speed. Time spent learning, discernment is never wasted. Time spent healing is never wasted. Time spent aligning with God's will is never wasted. Relax. Nothing surrendered to God is ever lost. Some of you are experiencing a subtle but powerful shift. What once excited you no longer satisfies you. That is not boredom, that is elevation. God is raising your appetite. Old distractions lose flavor when purpose sharpens. Relax into that transition. Do not force yourself to remain interested in what God is phasing out. Let desire evolve. Let vision mature. God is also teaching you to trust His selection process. You do not need everyone to understand you. You do not need universal approval. God chooses who needs access to your life. When you relax, you stop over-explaining. You stop defending every decision. You let God validate what He has initiated. Silence becomes strength when trust is secure. Opportunities are also approaching that will require emotional intelligence, not just skill. God is shaping your emotional maturity now so you can navigate influence later. Influence without emotional stability becomes destructive. God prepares the heart before He expands the platform. Relax. God's order protects you. You are learning to let God carry what you were never meant to shoulder. Control has been heavy. Worry has been exhausting. Self-reliance has drained you. God's invitation to relax is an invitation to exchange burdens. When you release control, you receive clarity. When you release anxiety, you receive direction. When you release fear, you receive peace. God is also reminding you that rest sharpens obedience. A tired mind resists instruction. A rested heart responds quickly. When you are calm, you hear more accurately. When you are frantic, you misinterpret signals. Relaxation fine-tunes your spiritual perception. You begin to notice subtleties you once missed. You discern timing with greater precision. There are blessings God has delayed not because you were unworthy, but because you were not yet free internally, free from people-pleasing, free from comparison, free from fear-driven decision-making. God will not release what could enslave you emotionally. Freedom precedes provision. Relax. God is more concerned with your liberty than your speed. You are also learning that surrender does not weaken ambition, it purifies it. Ambition aligned with God becomes purpose-driven, not ego-driven. It seeks impact, not applause. It values integrity over image. Relaxing allows ambition to mature without becoming destructive. God is training you to respond to pressure with prayerful calm rather than reactive urgency. This is a higher level of faith, not faith that reacts, but faith that governs. When you relax, you govern your emotions instead of being governed by them. God's peace becomes the atmosphere you carry, not the condition you wait for. The right people and opportunities will arrive with confirmation, not confusion. You will not need to convince yourself. Your spirit will recognize alignment. There will be challenge, but no inner resistance. Stretching, but no dread. Responsibility, but no heaviness. Relaxation sharpens your ability to recognize this difference. God is not rushing you because He is building something enduring. He is not delaying you because He is indifferent. He is intentional. He is precise. Every moment is serving a purpose, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. So you remain grounded. You remain open. You remain attentive without being anxious. You continue preparing with awe. Panicking. You keep moving without forcing. God is guiding each step. aligning each connection and orchestrating each opportunity with wisdom that surpasses your understanding. And in this place of trust, you learn that relaxation is not waiting for life to begin. It is learning how to live fully while God unfolds what is already in motion. So now, let this truth settle deeply within you. God is not asking you to relax because your life is insignificant, but because it is valuable. Precious things are not rushed. They are handled with care. Your life, your purpose, your future carry weight in the unseen realm, and God is guarding them with precision. What is coming toward you requires composure, not chaos. It requires trust, not tension. It requires faith that is calm, rooted, and unshaken. You are standing in a moment where God is shifting you from survival to stewardship. Survival mode is frantic, defensive, always reacting. Stewardship is calm, intentional, discerning. God is moving you into stewardship of your time, your energy, your relationships, and your calling. That is why He says, relax. You cannot steward well when you are panicking. You cannot discern clearly when fear is loud. You cannot lead your life wisely when anxiety is driving. The waiting you are experiencing is not empty space, it is sacred ground. God often does His deepest work where there is the least noise. In this stillness, your roots have grown stronger than you realize. Your faith has matured quietly. Your discernment has sharpened subtly. Your resilience has been fortified invisibly. When the manifestation arrives, others will call it sudden, but you will know it was prepared over time. Remember this always. What God sends will not compete with your peace. What God ordains will not require you to abandon your values. What God aligns will not drain your spirit. The right people will meet you in wholeness, not in desperation. The right opportunities will find you ready, not frantic. God's blessings do not arrive with confusion, they arrive with clarity. So you release the need to rush. You release the fear of being left behind. You release the burden of controlling outcomes. You rest in the confidence that God sees the full picture while you only see a frame. You trust that every step, every pause, every transition is being guided by divine wisdom. Stay faithful in the quiet. Stay obedient in the unseen. Stay relaxed in the waiting. God is aligning what you cannot yet see, preparing what you cannot yet touch, and orchestrating what will soon make sense. And when it arrives, it will not arrive in chaos, but in peace, because it was shaped by God, timed by God, and released by God.